Grand Admiral Vexus stood at the observation deck of the Eternal Glory, his primary heart swelling with pride as he watched the massive Zectarian fleet spread across the starfield before him. 10,000 ships, each a masterpiece of engineering, gathered to celebrate 3 centuries of unchallenged dominion over the known galaxy. The collection of vessels sparkled like artificial constellations against the void, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in dazzling patterns. "Another toast, Grand Admiral?" First Commander Nyxus approached, carrying 2 glasses of luminescent stellar wine, the rarest vintage in the Empire. Her scaled skin shifted colors with excitement, matching the deep purple of her formal uniform. "Indeed, Nyxus, today marks the end of all resistance." Vexus accepted the glass, his 4 eyes reflecting the shimmer of the liquid. "The last pocket of rebellion in the Orion arm has been crushed. At last, true peace through absolute control." Throughout the vast flagship, celebration echoed through every deck. Officers and crew members alike shared in the victory, their mandibles clicking in traditional songs of triumph. 300 years of careful expansion, strategic alliances, and swift subjugation had led to this moment. The Zectarian Empire now stretched across 20,000 light-years, encompassing millions of worlds and hundreds of species. In the command center below, Admiral Crixus monitored the sensor arrays out of habit rather than necessity. "The security perimeter reports all clear, Grand Admiral. No unauthorized vessels within 50 light-years." Vexus nodded, satisfied. Their detection systems were infallible, developed through centuries of technological refinement. No ship could approach without their knowledge. No threat could possibly. The alert came without warning. Every screen on the bridge flashed crimson and the celebration fell silent. Sensor operators froze at their stations, their scales shifting to pale yellow in confusion. "Impossible," Crixus whispered, his claws dancing across the control interface. "Mass signatures appearing from nowhere, hundreds of them, thousands." The void itself seemed to tear open as massive shapes emerged from what appeared to be fold space, a technology the Zectarians had deemed theoretically impossible. The vessels that appeared were unlike anything in their database. Stark, angular shapes of dark metal that seemed to absorb both light and sensor scans. "By the first egg," Nyxus breathed, her scales now bone-white. "Each one is larger than the Eternal Glory." Before Vexus could issue orders, a transmission cut through every communication channel in the fleet. The voice that spoke was eerily calm, almost conversational, yet it carried an undertone of steel that made every Zectarian's scales crawl. "This is Fleet Admiral Helena Winters of the United Earth Defense Force. For 3 centuries we watched as you expanded, as you conquered, as you enslaved. We studied your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. We prepared. We evolved. And now we have come to show you that humanity will not kneel." Vexus drew himself up to his full height, his pride overwhelming his initial shock. "You dare challenge the might of the Zectarian Empire we have ruled the stars for?" 300 years, Winters interrupted. "A mere blink in human history. We have spent millennia fighting ourselves, perfecting the art of warfare. You ruled through fear and superiority over lesser technologies. But you never faced an enemy who had the time and will to truly prepare for you." The first shot came without warning. A beam of concentrated dark energy lanced out from the nearest human dreadnought, passing through the supposedly impenetrable shields of a Zectarian cruiser as if they didn't exist. The vessel didn't explode, it simply ceased to be, collapsing in on itself in complete silence. "Full battle stations," Vexus roared, his celebratory demeanor vanishing. "Launch all fighters, power all weapons, show these upstart humans the true might of." Multiple human vessels opened fire simultaneously. Entire squadrons of Zectarian ships vanished in moments. Their return fire splashed harmlessly against the dark hulls of the Earth vessels, which seemed to drink in energy weapons and shrug off physical projectiles. "You celebrated too soon, Grand Admiral," Winter's voice came again, now tinged with something that might have been pity. "The galaxy doesn't belong to you, it never did, and now humanity has come to restore balance." As his mighty fleet began to crumble around him, as the impossible became reality, Vexus realized that the 3 centuries of Zectarian dominion had been nothing but a prelude. The true masters of warfare had been waiting, watching, preparing. And now, humanity had revealed itself, not with diplomacy or submission, but with overwhelming force. The age of the Zectarian Empire was ending. The era of humanity was about to begin. Deep within the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus, Commander Marcus Chen reviewed the holographic battle data streaming in from all sectors. The Zectarian fleet was in chaos, their formations breaking apart like scattered leaves in a storm. Each movement of their ships revealed more about their tactical doctrine, predictable, reliant on overwhelming force rather than true strategic thinking. 3 centuries of unchallenged supremacy made them complacent, Director Alara Frost commented from her station at the Neural Interface Hub. Her cybernetic eyes tracked multiple data streams simultaneously, coordinating the movements of hundreds of automated defense systems. Just as we predicted. The command center of the Prometheus represented the pinnacle of human military evolution. Unlike the ostentatious crystal and precious metal designs of Zectarian ships, every surface served a purpose. Dark metal panels absorbed and recycled energy. Quantum computers processed battle information faster than organic minds could comprehend, and the crew operated with quiet efficiency born from decades of preparation. "Show me Project Olympus status," Marcus ordered. A new hologram materialized, displaying the massive rings of orbital shipyards hidden in fold space around Earth. For 300 years, while the Zectarians spread across the galaxy, humanity had focused inward, building, preparing, advancing. "The first wave is performing exactly as designed," Alara reported. "Dark matter containment at optimal levels. Graviton Lance batteries operating at 98% efficiency. The Zectarian shields might as well be tissue paper against our weapons." Marcus nodded, remembering the decades of research that led to these breakthroughs. When the Zectarians first appeared in human space 3 centuries ago, they had expected Earth to submit like so many others. Instead, humanity had feigned weakness, allowing a single colony to fall while secretly evacuating its population. The Zectarians, satisfied with their easy victory, had moved on to other targets. That decision had sealed their fate. "Director Frost," Fleet Admiral Winter's voice came through the command channel. "Deploy the Thanatos protocol." Alara's fingers danced across her neural interface. Initiating quantum entanglement disruption field, targeting their fleet communication network. Across the battlefield, Zectarian ships suddenly found themselves cut off from each other. Their sophisticated quantum communications, which they had believed unblockable, went silent. Centuries of relying on perfect information exchange left them unprepared for fighting blind. "They never understood the true purpose of conflict," Marcus mused, watching as human vessels systematically isolated and eliminated Zectarian ship clusters. "They saw war as a tool of dominance. We saw it as a forge for advancement." The neural interface hub pulsed with activity as Alara coordinated the next phase. "Activating Project Prometheus. All ships prepare for temporal assault." Time itself seemed to stutter around the human fleet. Drawing upon technologies that the Zectarians had dismissed as impossible, the Earth vessels began operating on multiple temporal planes simultaneously. To the watching alien crews, it appeared as if each human ship was in several places at once, making their already devastating weapons exponentially more effective. "Signal from Grand Admiral Vexus," a communications officer reported. "They're requesting terms of surrender." Marcus exchanged glances with Alara. Both knew this was just the beginning. "Put him through to Admiral Winters. She'll want to handle this personally." The massive holographic display showed the battle in perfect clarity. Disabled Zectarian ships hung in space like broken toys, their crystalline hulls scarred and darkened. The surviving vessels had drawn together in a defensive formation that would have been impressive against any other enemy. But humanity had spent centuries preparing for this exact scenario. "You know what amazes me most?" Alara said, her cybernetic eyes shifting patterns. "They never once asked themselves why we didn't fight back 300 years ago, such advanced beings, and they couldn't grasp the concept of strategic retreat." Marcus nodded. Pride. They believed their own propaganda about superior evolution and manifest destiny. They never considered that we might be letting them win, studying their every move, their every technology. The neural hub suddenly pulsed red. Multiple fold space signatures detected, Ilara announced. Sectarian reinforcements arriving from their core worlds. Right on schedule, Marcus smiled grimly. They're playing into our hands perfectly. Signal the Second Fleet. It's time to show them why humanity spent 3 centuries preparing for this day. New ships emerged from fold space behind the human fleet vessels, even larger than the first wave. These weren't just warships. They were mobile fortresses, carrying within them the combined military knowledge and technological advancement of 300 years of human preparation. Begin Phase 2, Admiral Winter's voice commanded. Show them why Earth remembers, why Earth prepares, why Earth prevails. As the reinforced human fleet moved forward with inexorable purpose, Marcus thought about the centuries of sacrifice that had led to this moment. Generations of humans had lived and died preparing for this confrontation, developing technologies in secret, building ships in hidden shipyards, all while maintaining the facade of a defeated species. The Sectarians had ruled through fear and technological superiority, but they had never faced an enemy who had turned their own complacency into a weapon, an enemy who had spent centuries preparing not just to fight, but to win decisively. Humanity had done more than prepare for war. They had evolved beyond the Sectarians' understanding of warfare itself. And now, the galaxy would witness the results of 300 years of human determination, innovation, and patience. High Marshal Draken of the Sectarian Core Fleet emerged from fold space with 10,000 fresh warships, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. The sight that greeted him turned his confidence to ash. The celebrated First Fleet, pride of the Empire, lay in ruins. Their mighty crystalline vessels, once symbols of invincibility, now drifted as broken hulks against the star-filled backdrop. "Status report," he demanded, his scales shifting to a deep crimson of rage. "Human vessels approaching from multiple vectors," his tactical officer responded, fear evident in her voice. "Their technology, it's beyond anything in our database." Through the command viewport, Draken watched as dark shapes moved through space with impossible grace. The human ships seemed to bend reality around them, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, their weapons ignoring centuries of Sectarian defensive development. Aboard the Earth Dreadnought Thermopylae, Captain Diana Rodriguez studied the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Core Fleet has arrived exactly where intelligence predicted. Initialize the Aegis Protocol. Her crew, a perfect fusion of human intuition and cybernetic enhancement, responded instantly. Quantum fields sprang to life around the human fleet, creating a web of interconnected defensive zones. The Sectarians' favored tactic of overwhelming force would find no weakness here. "They're launching their primary attack wave," Lieutenant Raj Patel reported from his neural interface station. 1,500 capital ships, standard spearhead formation. Diana allowed herself a small smile. Predictable, just like the simulations, deploy the Hydra swarms. From the holds of Earth's warships emerged clouds of autonomous combat drones, each no larger than a fighter, but carrying the computational power of a tactical computer. They moved in perfect synchronization, their artificial intelligence adapting in real time to Sectarian defensive patterns. High Marshal Draken watched in horror as the drone swarms tore through his front lines. "Impossible! Our shields are rated for." "Marshal," his sensor officer interrupted. "They're not attacking our shields, they're recoding them. The drones are rewriting our defensive algorithms." This was humanity's true advantage. Not just superior firepower, but understanding born of centuries studying Sectarian technology. Every drone carried viral code that turned the aliens' own systems against them. Shields collapsed, weapons turned inward, and proud warships became their own worst enemies. "Launch the Titan-class vessels," Diana commanded. "Show them what humanity has been building in the dark." Space itself seemed to shudder as the largest human ships moved forward. Each Titan was a city-sized fortress of dark metal and gravitational manipulation technology. They had been constructed in secret, piece by piece, over generations, humanity's ultimate answer to Zectarian supremacy. Marshal Draken, a calm voice cut through the chaos of battle. This is Admiral Winters. Your empire took our colony 3 centuries ago. You thought us weak, defeated, irrelevant. That was your first mistake. Your second was giving us time to prepare. The Titans opened fire simultaneously. Beams of concentrated dark energy cut through space like divine judgment, each shot annihilating multiple Zectarian capital ships. The aliens' return fire dissipated harmlessly against quantum shields designed specifically to counter their weapons. All vessels, execute maneuver Theta, Diana ordered. The human fleet moved in perfect coordination, their formations shifting like liquid metal. Each ship's position had been calculated to the millisecond, their movements choreographed by artificial intelligences that had spent decades analyzing Zectarian battle doctrine. Draken watched helplessly as his fleet was systematically dismantled. Human ships seemed to anticipate every move, counter every strategy. When his vessels attempted to withdraw into fold space, they found the fabric of reality itself had been altered, trapping them in normal space. This is not just victory, Admiral Winter's voice came again. This is evolution. Humanity spent 3 centuries advancing beyond your understanding of warfare. We turned your greatest strength, your certainty in your own superiority, into your fatal weakness. The Titans advanced inexorably, their massive forms eclipsing distant stars. Behind them, swarms of drones continued their work, turning more and more Zectarian ships into floating coffins. The core fleet, last hope of the Empire, was being erased from existence with terrifying efficiency. You ruled through fear, Diana transmitted to the dying Zectarian fleet. We prepared through determination. You claimed the galaxy through superior force. We reclaim it through superior innovation. In his final moments, as his flagship system succumbed to human viral code, High Marshal Draken understood the true magnitude of his civilization's failure. They had conquered the galaxy but stopped evolving. They had ruled through strength but forgotten to grow stronger. They had celebrated victory while their greatest enemy prepared in silence. The battle that would be known as the liberation of the Orion Arm lasted less than 6 hours. When it was over, the combined might of the Zectarian core fleet had been reduced to scattered debris and floating hulks. Humanity's vessels, barely scratched, moved forward into the galaxy their ancestors had spent 3 centuries preparing to reclaim. It wasn't just a victory. It was the dawn of a new age, written in the language of superior technology and tactical brilliance. The galaxy would never be the same. In the shadows of an abandoned mining outpost on the edge of Zectarian space, Second Lieutenant Myra Thex watched her tactical display with growing despair. The news of the core fleet's destruction had spread across the Empire like a shockwave, shattering 3 centuries of assumed invincibility. Her scales, once proudly bearing the deep blue of an Imperial officer, had faded to a sickly gray. Another colony has gone silent, her communications officer Vez reported quietly. That's the 12th this cycle. They're not even fighting anymore, they're just surrendering. Their small corvette, the Swift Vengeance, had been on patrol when the human fleet struck. Now they were among the scattered survivors, watching helplessly as humanity methodically dismantled the empire they had served their entire lives. In Earth's orbital command center, General Thaddeus Black reviewed the holographic map of former Zectarian space. Hundreds of green markers indicated peaceful surrenders, while red dots showed pockets of remaining resistance. The operation was proceeding even more smoothly than their simulations had predicted. The Zectarian military structure is collapsing faster than anticipated, reported Colonel Olivia Chang, head of strategic operations. Her cybernetic implants processed real-time data from thousands of sources. Without their central command and core fleet, their remaining forces are fragmenting into isolated groups. And the liberated worlds? Thaddeus asked, his artificial eyes zooming in on various sectors. Responding better than expected. Turns out 3 centuries of Zectarian rule created a lot of resentment. Most planetary governments are eagerly accepting our protection in exchange for independence. Aboard the Swift Vengeance, Myra made a decision. "Plot a course for the Nexus Archive," she ordered. "If humanity has been planning this for centuries, there must be something we missed, some clue in our historical records." The Nexus Archive was one of the Empire's most closely guarded facilities, a vast repository of knowledge gathered over millennia. As their ship slipped through forgotten smuggler routes, Myra couldn't help but wonder how they had failed to see this coming. Meanwhile, aboard the human dreadnought Nemesis, Admiral Winters met with an unexpected guest. Ambassador Clara of the Andromeda Coalition, representing many of the species formerly under Zectarian control, had requested an audience. "Your victory was impressive," Clara's translator rendered her musical language into English. "But many worlds fear you will simply replace one empire with another." Winters smiled, understanding the concern. "That's why we spent decades preparing not just for war, but for peace. Show her, Commander Way." Commander Jessica Way activated a holographic display, revealing a complex network of trade routes, diplomatic connections, and mutual defense pacts. Operation Liberation was never about conquest. It's about restoration. Every world will be offered independence, protection, and membership in a new galactic coalition as equals, not subjects. At the Nexus Archive, Myra and her team made a shocking discovery. Hidden in ancient records, they found references to Earth that predated Zectarian expansion. Their ancestors had known about humanity's potential, had warned about their rapid technological advancement and unique ability to learn from conflict. "They knew," Myra whispered, her scales turning white with shock. "Our leaders knew Earth was dangerous. They thought subjugating one colony would break their spirit. Instead, we gave them a reason to unite and evolve," Vez finished, reading through more files. "Every war in their history made them stronger. Every defeat taught them new ways to fight. We didn't conquer them, we challenged them to surpass us." General Black's next report to Earth's Council carried both triumph and warning. "The military phase is proceeding as planned, but we're detecting increased activity in the unexplored regions beyond former Zectarian space. Something out there is watching, evaluating." "Let them watch," Admiral Winters responded from her flagship. "Humanity spent 3 centuries preparing for the Zectarians. If there are other threats out there, they'll find us ready." In the following weeks, more Zectarian commanders followed Myra's example, seeking answers rather than revenge. What they found in their own archives painted a clear picture. Their empire had fallen not through lack of strength, but through abundance of pride. They had stopped advancing, stopped adapting, while humanity had never ceased evolving. As the dust settled on the greatest regime change in galactic history, both humans and Zectarians faced a new reality. The age of imperial dominance was over. In its place, something new was emerging, a coalition of worlds united not by force, but by the promise of mutual growth and protection. Yet in the vast darkness between galaxies, ancient sensors recorded everything. The fall of the Zectarian Empire and the rise of humanity had not gone unnoticed. Other powers stirred, their own plans millennia in the making. The game of galactic dominance was far from over. It had merely entered a new phase. 6 months after the fall of the Zectarian Empire, the Grand Assembly Hall of the newly established Galactic Coalition hummed with activity. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the massive space station Independence, built at the former heart of Zectarian power. The crystalline architecture of the old regime now intertwined with dark metal human construction, symbolizing the merger of civilizations. Admiral Helena Winters stood at the observation deck, watching ships from countless species dock at the station. Behind her, Fleet Commander Viktor Petrov approached with a security update. "The last major Zectarian resistance cell surrendered this morning," he reported, his cybernetic arm displaying holographic data. "Lieutenant Myra Thex's revelations about the archive records convinced many holdouts that change was necessary." "And the deeper space scans?" Winters asked, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. "Getting stronger. Whatever's out there, it's been watching for a long time. Dr. Kenzo's quantum detection array picked up signals that predate the Sectarian Empire. Below in the assembly chamber, Ambassador Rebecca Chen of Earth addressed the gathered representatives. The chamber's advanced translation systems conveyed her words in hundreds of languages simultaneously. "The age of empire is over," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of human determination. "But the threats to our collective future are not. Earth spent 3 centuries preparing to free the galaxy from one form of domination. Now we must all prepare together for what lies ahead." In a secure laboratory deep within the Independence, Dr. Yuki Kenzo and her team of multi-species scientists studied readings that made their blood run cold. The signals from deep space weren't just observations, they were calculations. Something vast and ancient was measuring distances, analyzing capabilities, preparing. "The Sectarians were never the end game," she explained to Director Frost, who had come to review their findings. "They were a test. Whatever intelligence is out there, it's been watching how different species handle power. The Sectarians failed by stagnating. We're being evaluated on how we handle victory." Meanwhile, in the rehabilitated Nexus archive, Myra Thex worked alongside human researchers, combining Sectarian historical knowledge with Earth's innovative thinking. Her scales had regained their color, now shifting between scholarly purple and excited gold as new discoveries emerged. "Look at this," she called to Dr. Marcus Chen, who had transferred from the Prometheus to lead the research initiative. "These stellar patterns from 10,000 years ago, they're artificial. Someone was moving stars." In her private quarters, Admiral Winters reviewed all these reports with growing certainty. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing to defeat the Sectarian Empire. Now they had perhaps half that time to prepare for something far greater. "Initialize Project Sentinel," she commanded through her neural link to Earth Command. "Full activation of all deep space monitoring stations, and send word to the Coalition Assembly it's time they knew what we're really facing." The Assembly's reaction to the revelation was better than expected. Species that had fought each other for centuries now found common cause in facing an unknown threat. The Coalition's first unanimous vote authorized the creation of a joint defense force, combining human innovation with technologies from 1,000 worlds. "We spent 3 centuries learning how to defeat an empire," Ambassador Chen addressed the Assembly. "Now we must teach others how to defend against something far older and more dangerous. The galaxy is no longer divided between conquerors and subjects. We stand together or we fall together." In orbit around Earth, the shipyards that had secretly built humanity's liberation fleet now operated at full capacity. But these new ships were different hybrid designs incorporating the best aspects of every Coalition species technology. The dark metal of human vessels merged with Sectarian crystals, powered by energy systems from a dozen different civilizations. Dr. Kenzo's team made another breakthrough in understanding the deep space signals. "They're not just watching," she reported to the Coalition Security Council. "They're waiting for something specific, some kind of threshold we have to cross." "A test of cooperation," Myra suggested, her scales shimmering with excitement. "My people failed because we tried to rule alone. Humanity succeeded because they planned to free everyone." Admiral Winters stood at the heart of the new Coalition Defense Command, watching as the first joint fleet took shape. Ships of all designs and origins, crews of mixed species, technology that no single civilization could have developed alone. This was humanity's true victory, not the defeat of an empire, but the birth of something greater. 3 centuries ago, Earth faced a choice, she addressed the assembled fleet commanders. "We could have fought then and died proudly. Instead, we chose to wait to learn to prepare not just for victory in battle, but for the peace that would follow. Now we all face a similar choice. We can stand divided against the darkness between the stars or unite to face whatever awaits us." As if in response to her words, the deep space signals intensified. Whatever ancient intelligence watched from the void, it had noticed the changes. The game of species and empires was evolving into something new, something unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity had freed the galaxy from empire. Now they would lead it into an uncertain future, where the true test of civilization would not be its ability to conquer, but its capacity to unite against the unknown.